Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I am, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I'm joined by Buddy Myron.
The technically challenged man himself, down in the coldest studio in the town. Oh, folks, what happened to the weather around here?
Got cold as hell around here in Atlanta, man.
Good Lord, that hit me quick, man. Mm. I'd already rolled my heater up for the year. I might have to roll my damn space heater back down out here. This place is ridiculous.
Well, the crazy part is are we happy that we're actually going to have a show here for a minute?
Yeah, I thought it might not happen for the first time. Everything I touched turned to turds today, technologically. So I'm on a second microphone and my second speaker source. So the webcam's still the same. So we'll see what goes there. If you see me looking this way, it's because on my screen I'm over here, and so
That's what happens to me a lot because
yeah, I
you're
keep
over
seeing
here to
myself.
this side, but I can see you over here as well. So it's kind of a back and forth. And if they're listening to the podcast, they have no idea what we're talking about because, folks, guess what? We actually have a video version of our podcast.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's available on Patreon. It's available on Facebook. I mean, it's a couple places. So we always tell you, it's easy just to kind of subscribe, which we totally appreciate. Subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, all that, iHeartMedia. But if you follow us on social media, at Tapped Out Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. And of course, our favorite, where's the favorite one, man? It's at patreon.com
Yes.
/ tapped out pod. You get everything that we have to offer, interviews early, et cetera, et cetera. I just wanted to get all that out of the way. Let's get the commercials right out of the gate, right out of the way.
Now we
Because,
won't interrupt the match again.
yeah, we won't interrupt. Get the commercials out of the way. So boom, we can just go right into the work and get it done. Um, but hey, man, let's, again, we say this every time this happens, right? We get tired of having these conversations. Unfortunately, it's life.
Hmm.
But this past week, King Kong Bundy passed away, 63. I mean, that's really, really
Well,
young.
yeah, and this it's another one of the guys that was at WrestleCade, and I said, "Hey, $35. Maybe I'll wait till next year. I want to get this, new indie wrestler's autograph." And much like Gene Okerlund, I'll never get another chance to get her autograph, and I've been kind of choked up about that for ever since I heard the news. Uh, Once again, heroes, our villains from our childhood are starting to pass away, and we are becoming aged men, Nick.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you have any favorite Bundy moments before we move on?
The was that how many seconds was that match at WrestleMania? Was the record?
Well, what they call it,
Jesse Jones.
9 or 7 or
Yeah,
9.
that was probably my favorite Bundy moment. Also, the 5 count thing was awesome.
That's actually what was written on my notes when
Yeah,
he would say 5. It's one of them counting to
I
5. But
uh,
yeah, he was a monster, man.
yes,
WrestleMania, 2, him and Hogan. He was another one of those, but he was around long before that, man. He was
yeah.
everywhere.
He
So
worked Texas. He was very over in Texas. He worked all over the place. I still remember my favorite all-time Jim Cornette impression is Ernie Ladd, and Jim Cornette did an Ernie Ladd impersonation telling King Kong Bundy something, and it was like, "Bundy, you fat piece of shit." Like it is so. It's just. I mean, it's sad to say that,
that wasn't
but
bad.
it was hilarious because I've listened to Jim do it so many times. I'm kind of picking it up.
But yeah, so it's it sucks. Like you said, heroes or villains, it doesn't matter. Wrestlers from our childhood passing is never, fun to talk about. Obviously, it just sucks. I mean, and like you said, it does date us, but it just sucks overall. But Godspeed to Bundy, man.
Yeah, and another one that's not in the Hall of Fame that's passed away now.
Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, that's Hey, let's just break it. You mentioned it, so let's just the hell with the format. Let's just throw it out the window.
Yeah.
You brought up the Hall of Fame, so I was going to talk about that later, but let's go ahead and talk about it now.
Mhm.
Uh, First and foremost, some news came out this week. I don't know if you heard about because I was trying to we were doing the chaos of getting everything set up. We were kind of chitty chatting a little bit. But Sean Waltman said that the WWF has kind of WWE Jesus has talked to him a little bit about the Hall of Fame. If you can't tell, I'm stopped up, so I'm still there.
Yes.
But they were talking about some changes potentially to the Hall of Fame this year. Because let's be honest, man, it's long,
Yes.
way too long. Think about it. They left Goldberg up there. Remember when people just left because they had to get up? They had to get up the next day.
Yeah, they had to wrestle the next day and get ready for WrestleMania. But it's hold on, no, they had to wrestle for NXT the next day. It was on Friday, right?
Well, but they got some of them have access and some of all that kind of
Oh
stuff.
yeah, but
Man.
they flip flopped it this year. Which day is the Hall of Fame? Is Hall of Fame Saturday?
This year they're going to put the Hall of Fame in between, which will be even worse. But on top of that, one way that he said that he's kind of been, and it may happen, it may not happen. He didn't say it was happening. Is taking inductors out. Basically, just
Uh,
I guess Lawler would just kind of introduce, the Hall of Fame person, or maybe they just trust basically Jerry. Is the one who you don't want to say inducts them, but kind of says, "Here's the video package. Here they are," and they walk out and they get their thing. They don't get the big long. Because think about it, man. I mean, I know it was Flair and it was Steamboat or whatever, but Flair talked for like 30 minutes as an inductor, not even as the guy who was accepting the.
yeah, it does get long in places. I love Cornette inducting the Midnight. Sorry, the how can I say
the
that?
Rock and Roll.
The Rock and Roll Express. I stutter sometimes when I'm trying to think coherently, but I love the way they were doing it. I've always it felt like something special. Especially when Diamond Dallas Page was put in and Bischoff put him in, and you always got a feeling that it meant something when you had a good explanation about why it meant something for somebody who was there or somebody who was close personal to that person. It'll be different if they change that. I don't like the idea, but everything does change, and it's Vince McMahon's Hall of Fame, so Vince McMahon makes the decisions. That's why you wind up with, Kid Rock and Torrie Wilson in the Hall of Fame, and there's just a point right there.
Hey, listen, we've had this debate. I don't know where it's at in the archives. I debated. I think Kid Rock deserved to go in, but that's a whole different argument.
Oh yeah, you got a point there, but the thing is, it's not a real Hall of Fame. Okay, it's a Hall of Fame for a pretend sport that's put on by an old man who picks people randomly. There's no voting. There's no baseball writers. There's no fan votes. It's just basically who Vince wants to put in there. And a lot of times he tries to make strategic decisions. I.e. Dana Warrior. And we're going to have to listen to Dana Warrior speak at the Hall of Fame again this year. If we're going to get rid of inductors, can we get rid of her speech? That's all I got to say.
It's her award, man. It's the Warrior Award, and she's got to present it, so you're going to listen to it. I think maybe just taking out the number of people going in. They need to slow down anyway, because they're. I mean, it's.
They need to slow down. They're dying so damn fast. They're going to have to put everybody in posthumously.
Well, I'm not saying that, but I just mean in general they need to slow. Maybe not as far as if they're putting in 7, go to 6, or if they're putting in 6, go to 5. Take one whole person out of the equation, and you know what? I mean, if people are, you hate to say it. I mean, if people are going in after they passed, that sucks. But maybe that slows down some of the people going in too soon.
Yeah, you got a point there. But look at, Sputnik Monroe, when he went into the Hall of Fame, he went in like on one of those undercards where they're, it goes, and also inducted in the Hall of Fame, and they give you 18 different people. And Sputnik Monroe, who pretty much integrated wrestling, and did more for civil rights and wrestling than any white person ever did.
Yeah, but
it's stuck in the bottom.
I think you're going to have that. That's just kind of there's going to be so many older guys that they're already passed. There's nothing they can do about it. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of whatever. But you brought up Torrie Wilson.
Yes.
Going in. All the hoopla about what did she do to be in, blah, blah, blah. Did you see Gail Kim came to her defense?
Yeah. And Gail Kim is probably one of the best speakers as far as women's wrestling and where she stands, because she's very clear, and she's not a WWE mark. She's not somebody who thinks they'll ever go back. So more power to Gail.
I just, like you said earlier, and we don't mean it disrespectfully, but who are we to say who goes in and who doesn't? It's
exactly.
Not like you said, it's the WWE Hall of Fame. At the end of the day, Vince decides who goes in, and whatever.
A lot of it's your significance to Vince. Hall of Fame. That's what it should be called. This is Vince's personal Hall of Fame, so it's people who are significant to him.
Yeah.
He's like he's my mother's age. Okay, I think my mother's probably aged better in the last couple of years because, God, he looks like hell.
He hit the
But
proverbial wall, man. You can only put it off so long, right?
can only put so much juice in the system.
But the way I look at it is, it's essentially a TV show.
Yeah, it's a TV show.
The Hall of Fame is a television product, and he's trying to put on a television product that I'm not saying that there is a lot of justification to who goes in, but do you know what I'm saying? I'm like, but
Yeah.
I mean, you can't argue the fact that DX doesn't belong.
DX belongs.
But
China's finally getting in.
But his thing is there's also still people that there's people in all Halls of Fame that are debatable. Yeah, in my opinion. Yeah. So it's all relative.
The concept Hall of Fame is a controversial thing, from Pete Rose to the guys from through the baseball game back in the 30s.
The Black Sox, the Chicago
Black Sox. Yeah. There's all kind of weird things in Hall of Fames or not in Hall of Fames that people are always going to write countless copy on. It's always a topic every year, regardless of what the sport is. So it's wrestling, and what do you expect?
Yeah, I mean, so my argument is simply like, if they want to put Torrie Wilson in, all right, I'm down.
Yeah, put her in.
I mean, walk her across that stage. I'll watch.
Yeah, she was all over wrestling for a long time. So, yeah. And from WCW too.
Best move Billy Kidman ever made, right?
Yes, exactly. So you got somebody who transitioned from both companies. Maybe that's justified, and she succeeded. Not a lot of people that translated from WCW succeeded in the WWE, and a lot of them that did are in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. If Vince wants her in, put her in. There's probably some reason, who knows. Maybe her coming over is what got Kidman there, and Kidman's worked out great for him. So
chocolate titties.
So
I'm sorry, that was Jacqueline.
But you know what I'm saying? I mean,
yes.
Maybe her coming got him Billy Kidman coming over, so boom, and it's been a great fit for him. So happy.
Okay. Since we're talking about great fits, did you hear the story behind the Arn Anderson thing?
I did.
What the hell?
You know me, I'm not a. You know me. I'm always kind of hesitant to talk about these things because I'm like, do we know that for sure? I mean, I know somebody's reporting it and this, that, and the other. So, she was under the influence and he let her perform, or she was intoxicated, whatever. Did she have a beer and she went out there, or was she smashed?
Yeah, I don't know the details, and that's one thing. But like I said, Arn and Vince never got along anyway, so it was bound to happen.
I mean, back in the day, I'm not saying it's okay, but I'm just saying, Arn might, if she had one beer and she was like, or one, like, all right, go ahead.
Arn was a freaking horseman, folks.
Yeah, I didn't put it down on our notes to talk about it because I just still am at that point with that whole type of thing where I'm like, I don't know. That's a lot of that's personal. I know it did affect the business, and I understand that, but we don't know really. What the word on the street is or whatever. That kind of thing, but
Arn is a Hall of Famer too.
Arn is a Hall of Famer.
I can tie everything together.
Well, you also brought up Dana Warrior, so I do want to get to this. I know you rolled your eyes because that's what everybody's saying right now. Because first of all, the rumors were she's on the creative team. Well, clearly we have since read it's not exactly 100% accurate. She in her blog said she's shadowing the creative team. She's a writer by nature. Apparently, she's a writer. Who knows? I didn't know that.
A thin harpy shadow. With a shrill voice that ruins the Hall of Fame for me every year.
So, all that being said, we don't particularly like her speaking. But I read an article, and I totally apologize. I had it. I didn't have it written down. There was an article that I read over at thechairshot.com, and it just, the name of the article kind of made me think. It was like, why not Dana Warrior? Being any type of involvement in the wrestling, the creative for WWE, and it was just kind of like, why not? I mean, it's different. I asked you earlier, what do we know about her other than we don't like her presentation. It's just really, really long at the Hall of Fame. That's all we know.
She was married to a lunatic. I don't know anything about her besides that, so maybe there's something there. But while we're thinking about bringing in women for creative teams, who would you like to see? I'm thinking Lita probably would be a solid addition.
But you don't know. I mean, because that's the crazy thing. Like, you always hear stories like Ric Flair is he's the greatest wrestler of all time, but he was terrible as a member of create. They were like as the head booker.
Yeah.
Now he could take somebody's idea and tweak it and polish it up a little bit and make it better. But that was kind of his strength. It wasn't actually so. Sometimes, and the argument was, there's not really generally a lot of women on the creative team. So for Dana Warrior just to be a voice from a female perspective, that's the big argument of why not? I mean, just if they're writing something, there's a bunch of guys sitting around writing women, and for her to just sit there and say a woman wouldn't think that way or a woman wouldn't react that way typically, what's wrong with that?
Not bad. I agree. It's something serious, and hopefully, if she is added, she will bring quality stuff to it. So I'm trying not, I try not to shit on things when wrestling, and this is probably the hardest thing I've tried not to shit on in a while. I'll be honest.
Well, I don't have to sit here and tell you like I think it's going to work, but the argument is everybody wanted change. Everybody wanted the WWE to go in a different direction and get better, right?
Yeah, and we've had a good bit.
They gave us some and just threw it out there. Give it a whirl, and like I said, why the hell not? It can't. I mean, it really can't, right? I mean, what can it hurt? She, if she's involved and she's not doing well, they just let her go because that's what happens.
Yeah, future endeavored.
Yeah, she'll be future endeavored and she'll move right along. So, I thought the article was really good. I mean, I thought, like I said, just to say why not her, to me made a lot of sense. So, we'll see. She's not, by the way, shadowing means she's not actually on the creative team anyway. So I think that was just more of a learning experience from her. She's already involved. And I'm sure Vince was kind of helping her out because of the Warrior's death and, some things like that. So,
well, give her a job, give her a little bit of money for a while. She's shouting Bruce Pritchard. And if you can learn from a master, that's the guy you want to learn from.
Yeah. I mean, with all of the, the changes they've been going through, bringing in, Hurricane Helms and Sanjay Dutt and Abyss and Jarrett and and then Bruce Pritchard's obviously back in. The last couple of weeks, I mean, this isn't my words. If you look at Twitter and you look at Facebook, a lot of people are saying, "Hey, it looks a little different, and it's a good thing."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Things are being shot a little different, and
it, like Cornette said, Vince McMahon tries to get you to get it. He can't convey what it is all the time. He can telepathically tries to get you to understand. But Bruce understands, and Bruce can take what McMahon's vision is and translate it. And I think that's going to be an asset. It's going to make the shows look better. Maybe the whole thing is, maybe it's not, everybody blames McMahon. Maybe it's Kevin Dunn. Maybe it's those people who can't get Vince's true vision. And Bruce will.
I think Kevin Dunn gets the vision because he's been there so long. But I think everybody else not getting it maybe is the issue.
Yeah.
And I think Kevin Dunn's biggest issue is maybe he's so settled in it to, this is the way he's always done it. It's always been successful. Let's just, why would you want to rock the boat and try something different as far as from a production standpoint? And I think Bruce Pritchard's kind of seems like the guy that'll rock the boat a little bit. Hey, let's shoot it a little different. I mean, we heard which something we're going to talk about here in a minute. Well, let's out of order here. Let's go. That segment that Batista was in, everybody raved about how great it looked, and it turned out, guess what? It was apparently produced by Bruce Pritchard. I mean, and that's kind of, it looked different. It was special. By the way, it was so special. I don't know if you've even read this. That video on YouTube for WWE's official channel, 7.2 million people watched the Batista return on YouTube. The most viewed video the WWE's had since last August.
Last August?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's a long time, and that's the most viewed. Well, guess what? It was controversial. It was a shock. It was shot like an Attitude Era video, for lack of a better way to put it, and it gripped me. I know a lot of people shit on the fact, well, it was Ric Flair's birthday, blah blah blah. Man, I'm telling you, it to me was awesome. I loved it. I wish they would do stuff like that more often, and I hope to see more of that in the future. So,
well, it kind of pairs us into two things. One, we're going to talk about some WrestleMania stuff in a second, and talk about Triple H a little bit. But for my arguments for that is I know a lot of people crapped on Batista even coming back. Why is he back? Blah, blah, blah. You know me, and I love numbers. So the average, that watched Raw last week was it was like a 2.7 something 778 million whatever. 7.2 million views on YouTube. If I told you I'll give you the benefit of a doubt and everybody watched it twice, that's still 3.6 million people that watched it. So that means on the average, about 1 million people more watched that video than watched Raw.
Mm-hmm.
So, goes back to my argument. Batista's back because he's freaking drawing eyes. It's a mass appeal issue that they're going to bring heading into WrestleMania.
And WWE knows it does not matter where the eyes are as long as the eyes are there. If you get 7 million eyes on YouTube and 3 million eyes watching the show, it's still, that's 10 million. I mean, they like to do this kind of stuff. They like to multi-market and put it in different mediums.
Sure.
So it's brilliant.
And back to what we were just talking about, I tweeted out, I've tried to kind of cut back on my live tweeting during Raw and stuff like that.
Mm.
But Triple H cut that promo. Now, was there some parts of it that were, a little, I was kind of like, I don't want to say corny. But when I tweeted out, when Triple H is on, he's still the game. I mean, that promo sold. It's personal. We know why they're fighting. We know what their issues are. And like I said, it shoots up to him immediately. We're invested. I want to see this match.
Mm-hmm. I'm psyched about it. But I wasn't psyched about it before. Because, when you told me the rumors originally, because, this has been rumored for what, 3-4 months now? I was like, why the hell is Batista coming back? They shot that great vignette, and then they let Triple H have that long promo, and now I'm invested in it, and I'm interested. And this match isn't even for me. This match is for your casual fan. This match is for your people, your new eyes. The rest of the WrestleMania is for me and you, but this is now I'm interested in it, and they made me care, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, lots of people are going to care, and it's like we talked about this last week. It's a match that doesn't matter as far as who wins and loses to the grand scheme of things, and everybody goes, "Oh, it matters." It matters in the sense of those two wrestlers, so it's a big deal. But what I mean by it's not Batista coming in and either having to lose to Daniel Bryan, or Daniel Bryan's not going to take a loss. Mm-hmm. So in those storylines, it's not hurting anybody else. It's just those two. Triple H can take the loss. Batista can take the loss. Doesn't matter, but it matters, if that makes any sense.
Yep. Makes perfect sense to me. It matters to draw the eyes. It matters to get attention, and it's not going to have a title picture thing. It's a standalone piece, so that's cool.
Yeah, it really, really is cool. Now, I'll tell you something else that happened on Raw. And, we normally don't cover this much Raw, but there's a lot of stuff with WWE this week. All I put out there was Ronda Rousey as a heel. Sign me up.
Yeah, can't wait. I have not watched Smackdown yet. I'm probably going to watch it after we do this on my DVR. So I'm one of those people. I bought it 100%. For her cutting the heel promo and acting like a heel, it's probably a lot more natural, and people are hating her anyway.
Yeah,
because she's a badass. So, and she's more natural, and she's not an insider. You know how much I hate that damn word. But I think it's great. I think it's a solid thing that they're doing. It's going to work out okay.
Well, I was a fan of her before.
Yeah.
I liked her as the babyface. I wasn't one of those people that was crapping on her. But man, she looks so believable. And I love the fact that it looks like that her, Becky, and Charlotte have gotten together and just said, lay that shit in.
Yeah. Oh, they are working stiff, man.
Those three are beating the shit out of each other at times.
Yeah.
And those punches on Becky in that corner, when she was wailing on her stomach inside, I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And, and even Rachel, my wife, looked at it and went, wow. Because she was just, they were just throwing down. So I'm all in, dude. I know there's some grumblings that after Mania she's going to take some time off. For those that don't know, she actually does have it's a multi-year contract, so she's not getting let go and going somewhere else. So we'll see. Do you think if she does take a break that she takes a loss?
Maybe. You don't ever go out on top. That's just the way it works. But people that think she's going to go back to MMA. I don't think she's going to go back to MMA
Never.
because women's fighting is just now gaining acceptance, and now she's doing the WWE stuff, and that might hurt her. It might hurt her as a draw. Lesnar is a lunatic. Lesnar is just an absolute beast, and I think Lesnar can go back and forth, but I don't think Ronda can.
I mean, because I think we all know, obviously, Becky's wrestling Charlotte at Fastlane. If Becky wins, it becomes a triple threat at WrestleMania. So clearly Becky gets in and wins, and everybody gets what they wanted. Becky's involved. I know they don't want they wanted one-on-one with Ronda. Logic would tell you possibly that they want the triple threat because they can set up a couple things. Becky can win the belt, so everybody's happy. Ronda doesn't have to take the loss. You could put the loss on Charlotte. So if Ronda is taking a little bit of a break, she could lose but not lose the title. Just kind of go away for a little bit and then come back.
Yep.
And set up something at SummerSlam or something.
That's the thing about triple threats, and I don't like triple threats, but it's a huge asset to be able to not have to crap on somebody and be able to somebody has to lose, but in a triple threat, it's not the person you want to put over, and everybody can come out looking good. So,
well, the champion doesn't have to lose. I mean, that's I don't always like that, but it does make sense. I mean, I know
how much you got on a Rousey run in tonight, Sunday night.
I don't really know. Maybe that I'd waffle on that one a lot. I'm not real sure. Could happen.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying it could happen.
Let's not forget just how good Charlotte is. I mean, we're talking Becky Rousey, but Charlotte is probably the best they have.
Oh yeah,
definitely. She's one of the few they still present as a legit star, also, and that's a big deal.
People get really frustrated when I say this, that I still think long term, I think Charlotte's the star.
Charlotte is a star, yeah.
I mean, over Becky. I mean, Becky.
Yeah, oh yeah, Becky, over Ronda.
Because here's the thing, I think Becky, and this is going to sound really bad. Becky is Austin. She's going to have a spike, and it's going to be a shorter spike. And I think Charlotte is going to be the longer term.
I think Charlotte is Hogan, Becky is Macho Man, and that would put Ronda would be the Warrior. As far as WWE significance.
You think she's going to have like a couple year run and that's it? And
she'll come and go. She's not going to be the long term one there. Becky will always have to play second fiddle to Charlotte just because Charlotte is Charlotte Flair, and Charlotte might be the greatest of all time.
Could be. Let's get kind of, we're talking about heading to WrestleMania. I did want to ask you, we're going in the fast lane. On Raw, they officially put the Shield back together. Dean Ambrose kind of, throws in. So we're going to get a 6-man with the Shield, blah, blah, blah. Two things. One, Dean, the rumors are flying that Dean's still going to be leaving. Mm-hmm. Dean's leaving. Dean's leaving.
Yeah.
He's probably going to show up somewhere else. I was always skeptical about it, but probably so.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see what happens. But the rumor now floating out there is that Dean and Roman may end up wrestling each other at WrestleMania.
I think that's a perfect setup.
If Dean is really leaving, Roman doesn't have anything. Maybe he does a turn. He does an old switcheroo and turns right back at Fastlane. Mm-hmm. It's a big swerve, brother.
Yep.
So I don't know how excited I am all about that, but at least it gives Roman something to work. If Dean's leaving, Dean leaves with a decent program with a WrestleMania match versus Roman. Who knows?
Well, anyone that gets a WrestleMania match versus Roman Reigns is a star. That's just what it is. Even if it's your last match, it's still a big thing. You're super over in the WWE's eyes because Roman is their guy, and he'll always be their guy.
Yeah. So, real quick, did you see? You said you didn't watch SmackDown. I wanted to ask you. I know one of the funniest bits that I saw in a while was R-Truth last night on SmackDown. Had me rolling.
I love the guy.
He did a whole skit about John Cena, how John Cena inspired him.
Oh, he did that. He did that the previous week too.
He said that he came out kind of talking about he was going to do the U.S. Open Challenge because John Cena inspired him. And he said the problem is everybody talks about you can't see him. He goes, but I see John Cena everywhere. I see him on the poster on my wall. I see him on the sheets on my bed. He goes, I was watching a movie about a car that turned out to be an alien from another planet, and John Cena showed up in that too, kind of thing. And he said
that'd be a great match, man.
Well, the Open Challenge broke out. The problem, unfortunately for R-Truth, was that 3 men took him up on his U.S. Open Challenge.
It was 2 last week.
It was 4 this week. It was Rey Mysterio, it was Andrade, and it was Samoa Joe. Spoiler alert.
What's up?
Truth doesn't make it out of that match as the champion. And we have a new U.S. champion, and everybody's like, thank God about time. Samoa Joe holds a major title.
Yes.
So maybe, what's funny? That U.S. title, it has spurts where it doesn't mean a whole lot, I know. But it's had a pretty good run off and on with Joe, and then it had, when Cena had it. And so they've done a decent job from time. I mean, I know the Rusev thing and the Nakamura thing probably didn't live up to par, but so forth and so on. But I think Joe can bring it right back because Joe can be a good fighting champion.
Indeed, I agree 100%. Did you watch Raw, and did you see Heavy Machinery run through the entire tag division, or the entire jobber tag division?
Actually, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yes. I've been reading about these guys, and apparently they hang around and help the stage crew clean up, and as they in the indie circuits, take the ring down.
Well, in NXT they have to.
Yeah, and they're really getting a good reputation for themselves. And then you see that the fact that they're featured heavily, and they've not been on the roster that long, and they're one of those NXT call-ups that are getting featured heavily. It's probably because of their good attitudes, and they're doing stuff, and they're trying, and they're trying to be the guy. So kudos, guys, and I'm enjoying their bits too.
Oh, they're funny. They're really funny. And honestly, I always tell people I didn't know a ton about them down in NXT. I didn't watch it enough to be all over it, But the characters are very funny. But I do agree with you. I think that the hard work, the not being too big to do anything, we're too big of stars. I think there probably comes a time where you kind of need to, but they probably realize they're not there yet.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was really cool. Those guys putting in their little extra effort. So any of the guys on the indies, that don't think they, need to help, they're too good to help maybe. I'm not saying you should help every time, but not to be better than that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, lots of stuff going on. A couple other notes I wanted to talk about. I know this one would get us a little mileage. Jim Cornette is the new commentator for MLW, essentially taking Tony's spot. I know we debated before we recorded that he didn't take his spot. Tony can't do Saturdays. They've moved to Saturdays. So, therefore, they move in Cornette. And also, by the way, he may be working backstage is now some of the word going around as well, which isn't bad. But I will give you this funny topic, and then I'll make you chuckle at this, and then you can share your opinion. So I was listening to this week's episode of What Happened When, and Conrad says to Tony, he goes, I'm not saying this happened, but I'm just curious, have you ever thought, did Court find out he could get Jim Cornette, and then he moved the show to Saturday so you couldn't do Saturdays? So now and he was like, and of course the response was, motherfucker. And he said, you never thought of that until I just said that? And he was like, no.
Damn.
He said maybe he found out he could get Cornette, so he just moved the show so you couldn't do it anymore. And then, boom, he's got Cornette.
That's a tough one. But, business is wrestling business. And they're different. Honestly, I think Tony's probably a better commentator, but Cornette brings a little bit more to the game than he does. I think Cornette can do much more behind the scenes than Tony can. So
I think that's probably the case. Now, here's the funny thing. From a producer side, Tony probably brings, the TV side, he probably brings more to the table than Cornette. But behind the scenes and the backstage and maybe some of that stuff, maybe Corny's, get a little better for that. And think about it. They had Bruce a while back and they lost that. Yeah. So maybe the Cornette thing's more valuable.
Now, if they run the show on Saturday night, when is the YouTube version?
Well, they do it. I did know this. Is it the next day?
I hope so. I'm gonna have to catch up because I'm behind again.
Yeah, I'd have to follow up and check on that. I couldn't remember off the top of my head, but MLW's man, it had Tony. Now they got Corny, as the commentator. So Court and those guys are doing some good
Yeah.
stuff, man.
Yeah.
And by the way, now that we're even on a roll, we said we got all the commercials out. Not necessarily. Obviously, we just released the Flying Brian Pillman Jr. Interview
Yep.
on Monday. So if you haven't caught it, it's boom, go back in the archives and it's there. So check it out.
Also did something I'm really proud of. It was released yesterday, Wednesday.
That's where I was going to lead you to.
The Jarrett Parsons TV interview series, where I had Jerry Jarrett as a guest and Adam Parsons, who's bigly, that's not a word, who is in the network and he's in there doing the stuff. I've been fooling around watching this stuff. It's a Roku channel. It's super easy to find. Jarrett Parsons Wrestling television. Just start putting in Jarrett into the search box and you'll find it. It's free. It's got Continental. It's got Memphis. It's got all kinds of great old wrestling. It's got shoot interviews. It's got content from high spots. They're going to be changing things up. They're going to go into some indie stuff. So if you want an alternative to the WWE Network that's free and has tons of great old wrestling, you got to check out Jarrett Parsons. You'll find it on Roku. They'll be expanding to other mediums soon, but guys, I'm telling you, there's a ton of footage. It's good stuff. And check this out. You'll get more matches every month too.
Yeah, and we released that interview was on Wednesday, which is, if you're listening to us on Thursday, it'd be yesterday. Yeah. So you can check out that. So all this week, you've got Jerry Jarrett for Jarrett Parsons Wrestling TV, Roku channel. Definitely check it out. Great old school stuff. And on Monday, we had Brian Pillman Jr. on as well. So quite a few interviews. If you ever wonder, by the way, both of those were up early, as always, on patreon.com/tappedoutpod. So subscribe over there, become a Patreon member, and get all that stuff all early, which is the coolest part. Also wanted to talk about just a little bit about All Elite. They announced Fight for the Fallen July 13th. It's going to be basically Jacksonville. It's in a building attached to the Jacksonville Stadium. So
5,500 seat auditorium, which our building, which is a big building. But it's also good that it's attached to their owner's place, so they probably don't have to pay rent, and it's a perfect size for them. You know, that's probably the perfect size for them for the bunch of the shows.
That's the show, and you know the measuring stick for All Elite's not the first show. People laughed when I said I don't. That's still. Mm-hmm. I'm impressed they sold 10,000 tickets. Don't get me or whatever. I want to see when they run on the third, fourth, fifth shows. I want to see that's going to give you more of a barometer of where they are. Yeah. And that's good, by the way. That's not a negative for me. That's a good thing. Till we know exactly where they are, what kind of buildings they're going to be drawing, how many fans are going to draw on a regular basis. And we're talking about more than once a quarter.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. That's just me personally.
Come on, guys. Announce some dates in Atlanta, please.
That's what we want.
Yeah. No, or in the southeast. I'll drive.
Well, Jacksonville's might be something we have to look at. We'll see. Wow,
yes, congratulations.
Renewed for season 2, man. I know you're psyched.
But they also doubled their order to like 24 episodes.
They did. I saw the press conference today. It's 24 episodes.
That is awesome. So many Georgia ties to that. So, congratulations, folks. I really am stoked about what you're doing with WoW.
I mean, yeah, lots of talent that we know. It's really cool to see them all. It's always cool. Again, it's just another place for more people to work. And especially when it's all women.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So,
the only all-women's television show, wrestling television show. And it's smacking that super serious Access TV Friday night release with New Japan. So it's a big deal.
Very, very big deal. So kudos to all those guys. We're, like I said, we're big fans of women wrestling, obviously. So kudos to those guys for knocking it out of the park. Speaking of knocking it out of the park, before we get out of here, I want to talk about kind of everything going on locally. We've got another show. Seems like, I know it's a real quick turnaround this time for Southern Honor Wrestling. That's why you see them again right here on our picture. Logo right under me. Got a big show coming up on the 22nd. You never know who's going to show up. So if you haven't got your tickets now, SouthernHonorWrestling.com. Go get those tickets. You never know. That's all I'm going to say. You never, ever know.
And we got Southern Fried before that on the 16th.
Yeah.
Man, folks, that show on Saturday night was so much. It had so much drama and so much tension and so much great wrestling. Loudest crowd I think I've ever been a part of. I don't have the use of my right ear still. Not just kidding. But the woman behind me was going to town, man.
Yeah.
It was great. Southern Fried, Southern Honor, you've got your two best promotions in Georgia. I suggest you look into that, even if you live in other states.
Yeah, especially like, I mean, I joked with somebody, South Carolina, come to Monroe, you're on that side, on that side. You know, Tennessee, Alabama, come on over to Canton, you know, come and see some Southern Honor Wrestling. Another show, man, that was just killing it. I mean, they had they're constantly having great matches, you know, so forth and so on. I mean, you can't go on enough about what Dylan and Gary, and, you know, and Nathan and those guys are doing up there at Southern Honor. And same thing can be said for Southern Fried. Todd,
and
booking, man. It's all about the story. And, of course, David, you know, he's promoting it and getting it out there. So, two of the hottest promotions, not only in Georgia, but in the Southeast. So, that's
Larry keeps saying that Southern Fried is basically based on a Memphis idea, and they made a lot of money on wrestling in Memphis. So
sure, I would go with that. I read that article and I was like, yeah, I could see that. They're an old school promotion. Southern Honor's a little more of your new school promotion.
Personal issues.
Absolutely.
Southern Fried is personal issues, and that's what draws money.
But the stories rolling there in Southern Honor are the same, man. It's stuff starting to get personal, you know, between Mac and Alan and, you know, Danny, of course, is, you know, just running around. You know, hey, Jake had some words for her. He'll be back. He's coming back. So keep that all in mind.
And I did commentary on 3 matches on the last show.
I was just about to say that. You got to do a couple matches. So when it comes out on Facebook at, you know, Southern Honor Wrestling, you'll get to hear Myron doing some commentary from there as well.
Yes. Had a lot of fun with that. I'm like I said, I'm no commentator, but I do like to do it occasionally.
Just something for fun, right?
Yeah.
Can't go wrong, man. Do what you love and chase that dream, man. That's what I always say, even if it's just for fun. But, man, what else you got over there, man? I'm trying to think of other stuff. We got so much crazy stuff.
And I don't have anything else on it.
Well, man, I guess we can put, like I said, we were putting Gary and Dylan and Todd and all those guys over. Oh, I know what I did want to talk about. Sorry, there was one other thing, and I didn't have it on my notes, but I promised I was going to talk about it. If you're not reading Georgia Wrestling History's website, there's some blogs and stuff that come out there that I'm really a big fan of. Drew Blood, you know, from Southern Fried, he wrestles there, you know, 99%, 95% of his time goes into Southern Fried. He's got a great blog that you should be checking out. He shared a little love with us this week in the blog, so I was kind of like, you know what, man, he deserves a little bit of love too.
Oh, yes. My favorite wrestler. Still my favorite wrestler of all time.
The wife loves it. She actually commented on it that, you know, she loves that guy for many, many reasons. You know, and as we've joked about back and forth about my career, my profession outside of the podcasting world, I represent some of the best athletes at Southern Fried Championship Wrestling. So we'll leave it at that. But but definitely, you know, Larry Goodman and those guys over there at Georgia Wrestling History do a great job when you're talking about indie wrestling in Georgia. So definitely check it out, especially the article. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Drew Blood's article there, his little blog column, call it what you will. But that's I wanted to make sure I got that out before we went out of here. So but if I've got nothing, man, and you've got nothing, man, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.